Hi there, this is Tia with the Vintage Wheel Photography based out of Austin, Texas. I am a documentary family photographer, or some say photojournalism photographer. I shoot only families, and I also take pictures of my kids. I try to do it every day just to photograph their everyday life. Sometimes it ends up being every 3 days, but if you're familiar with my Instagram page, you've probably seen pictures of my son Max and my daughter Finley. I just love capturing their moments, and I love that I'll have those forever. So today I'm going to take you through how I edit one of my high contrast color pictures. If you've been to my Instagram page, you've probably seen, or even my Facebook page, you've probably seen a lot of the black and white high contrast pictures that I do, and I love doing those. They're super fun. But lately I've kind of been in a color mood. So this is one that I've done recently, and I'm going to take you through step by step how I would edit it, or how I did edit it. I'm not going to use any presets, although I will say I do have some presets that I use. I've made them myself just to help my workflow, my post-processing workflow, go a little bit smoother. I typically tend to use the same feel for certain pictures, so making a preset I'm working smarter, right? But again, I'm going to go step by step through these different panels and show you how I would edit this manually. I typically shoot indoors. Excuse me. Not to say that I won't shoot outside, but a lot of times for the documentary sessions I'm doing, they are indoor. And when I feel like picking up my camera when my kids are around, I, again, am indoors. So not to say I won't go outdoors, but indoors typically seems to be my style. And so with that said, my ISO is usually really high when I shoot. Right here, it's higher than I would like. I usually keep it around 2,500. For some reason, it's at 3,200. I don't think it's because I had to set it like that for this picture, just because of all the light coming in right here. But it's probably there just from a photo I shot the day before, and I left it there because it worked, and it allowed me to tweak some other things. As you can see, my shutter speed is at a pretty good speed, especially for a kid. Even though my son is sitting still looking out the window, I know him, and I know at any moment he will go from sitting to midair leaping off of that couch and probably into a tumble set, because that is how he rolls. So I have the shutter speed up a bit, and the aperture I have at 2.5. I usually keep that around 2.8 and don't go any lower. It's probably moved here just to add a little more light in. I shoot with a Nikon D750, and 99.8% of the time I have my 35mm lens on there. I love to get the whole scene in the picture, and I can do that with a wide-angle lens. I'm a storyteller photographer, so having a wide-angle lens is the best option for me. I always have that lens on there. So let's kind of dive into this. Like I said, I'm just going to go through panel by panel with you. I don't use all the different sections, but we'll just go as we go. I always have my camera set on auto white balance. It's never really failed me. I mean, obviously there's been some instances where the white balance in my pictures were horrible, and I had to do a lot of manual editing for those. But for this picture, I'm pretty happy with the white balance. I think I might just tweak it a tad, though. So let's see. And I'm sorry, I keep saying I'm going to raise it, not a lot. I mean, I kind of like it around here. I'll just leave it there. So the temp, I'm going to keep it 5714. The tint, I'm happy with the tint, although I am going to lower it just a little bit to get some of the pink out of my son's skin. Although I will say this is going to change a lot. So I'm just going to lower it for now because I feel happy with it there. Let's go down. Exposure, I'm going to lower this simply because I want this to be have a very moody feel. I'm not going to lower it a lot. I'll probably go, let's see. Oh, whoa. That's good. I'm going to leave it there. For contrast, I want to add a little more richness to this. And I want to make it feel a little bit darker too. So, I mean, already you can see, look how much more rich and less hazy this one feels. And contrast, if you're not very familiar with contrast, when you have a photo has a lot of light in it, and you raise the contrast, it will kind of take away some of that haze. So I always usually up contrast just a tiny bit. Sometimes I'll do it a lot, but not usually too much. The highlights, I'm going to, now I know I'm probably going to darken a lot of this background area, but I'm going to raise these highlights right now just to see what that's doing, because I want his face to be a little more illuminated and his hair. So let me say this. When I took this picture, I wasn't so concerned with Max's face, which is why it's okay that this f-stop is my aperture is at 2.5. I'm not really worried about focusing in on his face, and you can tell it's blurry. I wanted to get the point across at this awesome hair. The light, I love how the light is shining on it and the highlights in it. So that's why I'm raising this right here. I'm going to go in and touch up this in his face because I'm not really liking the light right here, or I like it, but not this much. But I want to add some highlights in here. So I'm going to raise that. Okay. So with my high contrast pictures, I raise the shadows a lot. And for this particular picture, we're going to see, but I'm probably going to raise it a ton because I want to bring out all these curls that he has. And there is some darkness back here that's hiding the curls. So let's raise the shadows. And you see how it's kind of coming through now? And I'm not worried about the background or his face or his shirt. I'm just focusing, oh wow, on his curls. And you know what? I'm going to leave it at 100 because I like the way his hair looks. You can always go back and fix other parts of a picture. But for me, my main focus is his hair, so that's what I'm worried about right now. And I do want that high contrast kind of pop and feel. And I know that raising my shadows, and we'll get to clarity, raising my clarity will give me that. So let's move on. The whites, I think there's plenty of white. I'm going to leave white there for now. Let me lower the blacks because since I raised the shadows, I want to lower some of these blacks a little. So I'm not going to do too much. Probably leave it right there. Let me just see what happens if I touch the white. Might just leave it there. Now see, in Lightroom, I have it to where if my highlights get blown out, it'll let me know. And I'm not worried about this right now. I like the way his hair's looking and his skin is looking. Not so much the color, but just I like how he's looking overall. And I know I'm going to go in in a couple minutes and darken all this, so I'm not too concerned with that blown out highlight right there. Okay, so with the clarity, again, this is a high contrast picture, so I want to really define the shadows or his hair. So I raised the shadows, and so I'm going to go ahead and raise some of the clarity. And I'm just focusing on his hair again. I'm going to keep going with this. Oh, I think I'm going to leave it there. I'm actually going to lower these whites. There we go. I might come back to white. I like the clarity here. I like the way his hair is looking. Now his skin and this background, not so much, but we're gonna fix that. The vibrance, I'm going to raise a bit. Not too much, but a little bit. I want his hair color to pop. I don't usually touch vibrance too much, but I'm going to go ahead and do it here. It just depends on the picture for me. And saturation. I'm not really going to touch that. Okay. Tone curve. So I don't usually mess with this too much. And if I do, it's at the end. So let's edit the picture. We'll come back to this at the end, and I'll see if I want to do any tweaking with it. The HSL panel, I work with this quite a bit. And so for this picture, I want to change some of the hues, especially in my son's hair. If you can see the before and after. So his hair right now, what I've done with it, it's looking a little more yellow than I want it. I feel like his hair in the original picture is a little more true to the color, obviously, because it's the real picture. It's more of an orange. It's deeper in color, not so bright and yellow as this. So we're going to change the hue a little bit. I'm going to leave red alone. The orange, so I want the orange to be a little more on the orange side and not yellow. So I'm going to move this down. I like that. And again, don't worry about his face. We're just focusing on the hair. Then the yellow, I'm going to also move towards more of an orangey yellow color. Excuse me, my allergies are on fire today. Let's see, the green, I don't feel like there's much green in here. There's green right here, and I do want that to be a little more green, so more on the deeper green side. So I'm going to raise this a little bit. That's good. And I'm going to leave all these colors alone. Let's move on to saturation. So I still want to up his hair color as far as the orange goes. So I'm going to raise that. And look, you see how his hair is just popping now? I like for my high contrast pictures to be really like, wow. And I feel like with Max's hair, I mean, that is an opportunity to really say, wow, make a wow statement. So I'm not afraid to add a little bit more orange or, you know, red to his hair. I don't think I need to too much. I mean, his hair is already pretty red, but I'm going to go ahead and do it. So let's see. We did orange. I'm going to leave yellow alone. The green, again, right here, I kind of want that to be a little more green or deeper, richer color green. So I'm going to raise this. And obviously this isn't the focus, but I just, for color's sake, I just like that color green a little bit different. For luminance, his skin, so with Caucasian skin, you can always raise the orange luminance and get like a little bit of a glow out of the skin. I love using it. So now his skin is looking a bit red, but I know I'm going to tone that down. And I'm going to raise that luminance real quick. And I don't think there's much yellow. Actually, I'm not going to touch the yellow. Okay. Highlights, I'm going to leave alone. Sharpening, we'll come back to this later. Lens correction, I mean, I don't usually use all this. I know I probably should look into it, but I just don't. Post crop, vignetting, we're not going to do. Okay, we're going to leave all this alone. Now, let's go on to my favorite part, is the brushes. I'm going to use quite a bit of them. and I typically do a lot of brushing, so just bear with me. But I think this is the most fun part for me. So let's get a new brush, or a brush. And what I'm going to start with, I want to darken this section right here. Not too much, but it is a bit bright for me. So I'm going to lower this just a little, just so I see what this is starting to look like. I'm probably going to lower this more. But I just want to see what it even looks like. You know, sometimes I get these ideas and they don't work out. For the most part, they usually do. But I always start off a little bit lighter than I want, just so I can see, because you can always darken it. I'm going to be careful around his hairline. I mean, and that's kind of hard to do, especially with curly hair, but we're not completely darkening this, so I don't think it's a bit of a problem. Let's lower this. I think I'm going to go down a little more. I like that. Let's just make sure I got it all. Yeah, I feel like, I mean, it's not so bright, you know. You still get the point that the window's shining on his face and it's coming in, but it's taking some of the focus off the window and putting it on him. Okay. Now I want to go and completely dark out this part right here. So I'm going to get a new brush, and I'm going to, what we're going to do is pull the exposure all the way down to black, to totally black out this part. But for right now, I'm just going to do it a little lighter than what we're going to, than what the finished product is going to be, just so I can see what I'm doing. Now, around his hairline is tricky because, again, these curls are tough to trim with a black, completely blacked out brush. And this is usually really hard, but I'm going to show you a trick that I do because I kind of do this blacking out of the background a bit. So I'm going to show you a little trick I do to make this blend better. Because you don't want to leave the picture like this. I mean, look how bad that looks. You can tell I blacked out the background and it's not naturally like that. But I want it to look like it's naturally like that. So we're gonna do that. So let's just make this brush bigger. Just brush through. Okay. And then I'm gonna get to this part in a second. Let's black this out. So this isn't blackening out, so what we're going to have to do is just lower the highlights, lower the shadows. There we go. Now, this isn't looking good at all. Let's first get to this section right here real quick. I'm going to get a new brush, and I'm not going to go so dark. And I'm just going to color that in right here. Whoops. And then I'm going to get another new brush, sorry, and I'm going to blend this right here. I'm just going to make it look like, say, the shadow is falling on him. And that's what we're going to do with the hair. So I might actually keep using this brush, and I'm going to, well, no, that's too much. So let's undo that. Let's get a new brush. Let's make it a little bit lighter. And we're just going to blend the background into his hair. So you see how this is making this not such a blunt line, and it's looking more like a shadow? The shadow's falling on his hair. That's how you can do this and black out the background without it looking so defined. This part's showing through a little bit more, so I'm going to click on that pen and raise the contrast a little bit to get that gone. There we go. not liking this right here, so I'm going to just fix. That's fine. Okay. So now there's some lint down here I want to fix. And I'm just going to go back to the brushes. I'm going to click on this black brush, or not the black brush, but this pin right here. When we blacked everything out, because I want to black out some of this lint. I'm not going to take all these highlights off because I like the highlights there. I like that you can see this is his shoulder and the light shining on his shirt. I want to leave that. Okay. Let's see. Next, I think I do want to darken this shirt area just a tad. I mean, it's not really bothering me, but it is a little bit. So I'm going to get a new brush. A lot of new brushes. Get a new brush. And I'm just going to lightly shade this. Just a little bit. Just so it's not as noticeable. I like that. That makes me feel better. This section of his hair is also bugging me. It's a little too bright for me. So let's kind of get it just a little darker in there. Nothing too drastic, because again, you don't want to see that crazy defined section. There we go. That just makes it not as noticeable. When I look at this now, what jumps out at me, this is not a big deal, but it's just something that I want to fix. The side of these shutters right here, since we darkened everything, we didn't darken this, so I'm going to go ahead and darken that with a new brush. And when I use my presets that I've made, for instance, I would be using my high contrast preset. I would be using all these brushes too, so I just like to use them. Let's see. Okay, that's good. So now let's work on his face. Okay, let's fix. Oh, hold on, I'm seeing something that's bugging me. Right up here. This looks a little too bright. Okay, sorry. Let's get a new brush and we're going to work on his face, because remember, we raised the shadows, we raised the contrast, and even though that was making his hair look really cool, it was doing something to his face I have not been liking, which is really bringing out way too much detail in his face. So we're going to get a new brush and we're going to lower the clarity, and I'm actually going to lower the contrast too and just see what this looks like. I'm going to paint it on his face, and I'm going to paint it on his neck. And this also gives a really soft look, which was there anyway. I'm going to put it some on his shoulders and his shirt. But like I said, it gives it a soft look, and I'm okay. Again, my f-stop is really low and kind of blurring this out anyway, because my main focus is the hair anyway. I think I'm going to lower the clarity and contrast just a tiny bit. I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm going to leave that like that. Now, the color of his face, I'm not happy with. So, with a brush, I'm going to lower this temp. Maybe right there. You see, it's adding a lot of blue, and I don't know if I like that. So let's see. Let me just play with this real quick. It does look slightly green to me. So it might be a little too blue, so I'm gonna add a little more. Now, I like that. So I'm gonna leave that. Saturation, I don't typically fool with skin tones. I feel like it can really dull out skin. Since I raised the luminance though, remember that orange luminance? I feel like I can lower the saturation just a tad to get some of that red out. I'm just gonna leave this like that because I want to darken his face a little bit. So I'm curious as to what that's gonna do to the color of his face. So let's just come back to this. Let's darken part of his face. I want to darken this part right here where the light is shining. I like it. I just feel like it might be a little too much for me. So let's darken this with a new brush. And see, I like that a little bit more. Might actually go into there. Okay. And go back to his face coloring. Here we go. I'm going to... Let me just see real quick. I'm so sorry. See? Editing step by step or as you go. It's fun. I love to edit just with feeling, I guess you would call it. This is feeling good, so I'm gonna leave it right here. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, moving on. The only other thing I think I want to use a brush for, call me crazy, is to add a little more pow to his hair. I mean, I know it's pretty crazy right now. I think I just want to add a tinge more definition, and so I'm going to raise the clarity and raise the shadows a teeny tiny bit. I think that's good. And then I might raise the saturation a little bit too, because why not? Can't ever have too much red hair. Let's just see what this looks like. And it just slightly does something. And I'm noticing this right here is bugging me. So I'm going to go back to this pen, and I think I might darken, and I might do a new brush. You can never have too many brushes. And I'm going to, let's see, there. I feel like that's well blended. Okay. So I'm feeling pretty good about this. It's still overall a little bit too bright for me. So what I usually do, like I said at the end, is I'll come to this tone curve section. I usually just pull these back and forth. I don't really mess with this. It confuses me. I probably wasn't ever properly taught or sat through a description or an example of it like I should have. So I just kind of do things as I've developed on my own. But I'm going to probably lower these highlights a little bit. I mean, that's good. I might lower the light a tiny bit. And I'm not doing any of these drastically. I just want this all to be subtle. Dark, I'm going to pull lower. And shadows, I'm going to lower. I feel like I like that. I might go back to the face really quick. Not the color. And I might pull down the contrast. Let's see. Okay. I think I'm happy with that. Let's see. Let me raise the exposure a tiny bit. Okay. I think overall I'm pretty happy with this picture and the way that it has come out. I mean, I really love his hair, and this is what I was trying to get across, is look at this awesome hair and look at the light shining on it. So I love his hair. I mean, I'm pretty happy with the skin, the coloring. So I think that's it. Now all I'm going to do is just sharpen it at the end. So let's go down to sharpening. It's already moved up to 25 a little bit. Lightroom has done that, but I'm going to just add some more. And come down to noise reduction. I don't usually use too much luminance unless I have a very high ISO, which I do in this picture. So I'm probably going to add just a tiny bit. There's not, I mean, there is a bunch of grain in this picture, but I'm kind of liking it. I feel like it adds a little more to the picture. So I'll just do slightly. I don't even know if this is going to do anything. But let's do 6. I like even numbers. There we go, 6. And that is it, my friends. So this is the after. This is the before. I hope you learned today how to kind of edit and get that high contrast look. If anything, you probably learned how to use a lot of brushes. If you have any questions, you can email me at tia@thevintagewheel.com. I love to answer any questions, and thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.